What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the channel. My name is Mike. I've been addicted to gambling for the past 24 years. I'm a gambling addict. I've been struggling. I've been trying to quit for the past 3 months, and I'm on here just talking about my addiction and telling you guys stories throughout my last 24 years of gambling. So in today's video, I'm going to kind of tell you from what I remember on how my gambling addiction started. So I remember at an early age, probably somewhere around 8 to 10 years old, my dad drove me out to Lake Tahoe because he had an addiction. He liked to gamble. We drove to Lake Tahoe. I would sleep in the car while my dad would go gamble. He would come back to the car, check on me every now and then to make sure I was still alive, and then he'd go back into the casino and gamble. So I remember that at a young, early age of my father going to gamble, and I would sleep in the car. The second thing that I remember is my mother. She would take me to Reno. She would like to play slot machines. It's probably around the same age at this time, well, maybe about 10. And my mom would give me a handful of quarters, and she'd give me them in a little jar, and I would go to the arcade, and I would spend hours in there playing video games while my mom would play slot machines. Well, occasionally, I would come back to check out my mom because she would always stay on the same machine when I was out of quarters, and I would kind of watch her play the slot machine. And during this time, the slot machines, you'd have to put quarters in, and the quarters would come out. Bing, 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 bing. You see all the lights. So for me, at an early age, I was kind of exposed to the casino, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. So in my mind, I thought, when I get old enough, I want to play slot machines. I want to gamble. So fast forward to about 16 years old, poker started becoming really popular on TV. Chris Moneymaker, he won $1 million playing poker online, and they started posting poker on TV. So I started watching it. I got really intrigued, really interested about poker. So me and a couple buddies, we started playing poker at 16 years old. After church, every single Wednesday after our youth group, we would start playing poker at my buddy Matt's house religiously, almost every single week until we turned 18 years old. And it was low stakes, $5, $10 buy-in, but it was still gambling, and it was something that I really enjoyed doing. Now, once I turned 18, there was a casino close by. You guys might know what it's called. It's called Jackson Rancheria in Ione, California. And at the time, this casino was 18 and up for gambling. So we're like, you know what? We need to go check out the casino. We're all 18. We've been playing poker. We heard they had cash games and tournaments. So me and the boys, we started going up to the casino, Jackson Rancheria, and we started playing poker. Now, I was used to betting $5 and $10 buy-ins, and the poker tournaments up there, and the buy-in was between $20 and $30. So it started costing a little bit more money to start playing these games. So me and my buddies, we would go up to Jackson Rancheria a lot for a couple years until we all turned 21. Now, during this time, or it might have been a little bit after me turning 21, I ended up winning a poker tournament. I got first place. There's probably about 130 people in the field. Ended up hitting first place. It was about $800. That was my first major win as far as gambling. So I became really addicted to poker. Now, while I was at Jackson Rancheria, I started playing roulette, slot machines, blackjack, anything that I can get my hands on. At the time, I was working at the skating rink for minimum wage, not making a lot of money, but I would make about $200 a week. And as soon as we got paid, me and my buddies, we would take that money and we'd go up to the casino and we'd gamble. And a lot of times we'd lose. So fast forward, once I turned 21, I was working at Olive Garden, waiting tables, making tips. I did the morning shift, probably made about $40 a day in tips, nothing crazy. And I opened up a bank account. I didn't have a bank account before, but I ended up opening up a bank account because I was getting tips. I was getting cash every single day. And 20 years ago, the banks were very generous. They would give anybody a credit card. Things were a lot different back then. They were giving out money. So I applied for a credit card. I believe my limit was about $500. Long story short, within a year, my credit card limit was up to $10,000. And for some reason, I got introduced to online gambling and online sports betting when I was about 21 years old. So I started doing that. I started betting, $50 games, $100 games, and I started winning. I was real good at it. I was making money. Probably fast forward about 6 months to a year later, I quit Olive Garden, and I thought I was the best gambler in the world. I was betting $500 games on sports, as well as playing other stupid things on the online casino. And at this time, I was going up to Lake Tahoe, I was going up to Reno, and I was just living my life. So I quit Olive Garden. I had no job. I was a full-time sports bettor, a gambler, had that $10,000 credit card, and I can get a cash advance or put my information online anytime I wanted to, and the money was there. So I'm 21 years old. I just moved into a new apartment. I just financed a brand new car. I'm on top of the world. I got this $10,000 bankroll that the bank gave me for free. I'm young, stupid, had no idea what was coming. Now let's fast forward about 2 years later. I was probably about 23, 24. You guys can guess what happened. I lost it all. The $10,000 was gone. That credit card, I owed the bank probably about $13,000 after interest because I couldn't make any payments. And I lost my apartment. I ended up figuring some stuff out. I ended up moving in with another person without a job, telling them that I'm gonna get a job. I ended up finally getting a job at Verizon Wireless, and I was making a little bit of money. During this time at Verizon Wireless, my car gets repoed because I was 3 months behind on payments. So I didn't have a car, but I got this new job. I was in debt $10,000. Speed up the story a little bit more. I got laid off at Verizon. Now, I've always wanted to start a landscape business in the back of my head because I had experience working for one of my friend's parents at the time, and I saw how much money he was making. So I ended up moving back home. Didn't have a job, lost my car. I moved back home with my mom, living rent-free, saved up some money, and started my landscape business. And guess what happens? I was starting to collect unemployment from Verizon when I got laid off, so I had some money coming in, started a business. I started gambling again. And you can guess what happened? It's a continuous cycle. Start gambling every other day online, poker, going to the casinos, this and that. So that's a little bit of my younger age and my 20s about how the gambling addiction kind of started. From my parents, and then going to Jackson Rancheria, and then having all that money at a young age that I thought was free, that I obviously owed the money back. And that story pretty much just continues. And as my landscape business became more successful, I started making more money. And when you make more money, when you have a gambling addiction, you start spending more money. Now, every time I went to the casino, I was always very interested in the high limit room. And if you know the high limit room, it starts usually with $100 bets and up. And that's a lot of money. But finally, I started making some more money. I was successful in landscape. So I got introduced to the high limit room. Now, before, yes, I lost the $10,000, but it took, 2 years or whatever it was to lose it. So I wasn't making huge bets, but once you start getting the high limit, when you're betting $100 a hand, it gets very expensive. So the $100 a hand turns into $500 a hand, okay? And also, when you get to that limit of gambling, you're not happy just winning $100 or $200. You need to win at least minimum $500 to $1,000 to even make yourself happy anymore. It's kind of like drugs, and alcohol. When you first start drinking, you might get buzzed off one shot, but you build a tolerance, and that one shot doesn't make you satisfied anymore. It doesn't do anything for you, so you have to drink more. It's kind of like the same thing with gambling. So anyways, I got introduced to high limit gambling, started making more money, and that's pretty much how it stemmed. Started making more money and more money and more money. Then you start gambling and gambling and gambling. Before I knew it, I'm losing thousands of dollars at the casino. Now fast forward till today, I'm 40 years old. I've lost about $250,000 to $300,000 gambling. And before 3 months ago, I sports bet every single day for the past 2 or 3 years straight. I never missed a day sports betting. And it didn't matter what time of the day it was. If I wanted to bet at 1 o'clock in the morning, I could bet on Japan soccer, Japan tennis, Japan baseball. It doesn't matter. There's always something going on in the world, especially when you're betting online. So I've lost a lot of money, and that's kind of where my gambling addiction started when I was younger. And it starts small and it gradually grows. Now I can go deeper in depth into the story, into the, adventure, into the addiction, but that's just kind of a rough story on how my addiction in my life has been going for the past 24 years. You start small and it gradually gets bigger as you start being successful and making more money. So if you're new to the channel, subscribe, like the video, comment. I'd like to know everybody's story on how they became addicted to gambling, because I'm sure everybody's story is a little different. If you guys are interested in me going more into depth on my story and other things that happened along the way, there's a lot that I can talk about. But I just wanted to make this video kind of quick. I know I skipped a lot of my 20s, a lot of the 30s, but you can kind of imagine as what I'm saying in the story and how it happens. It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. My business in the past 3 years probably made $500,000 in the past 3 years. So that's a lot of money. It's a pretty good business, and I'm proud of it that I am blessed enough to make good money. A lot of people will never see $1 million in their life working for themselves or just working for somebody else. But I have, so I'm blessed and I'm very thankful for that. I don't know what I would do if I was working a 9-to-5 job. Starting my business pretty much saved my life. And if I keep gambling and keep going down this hill, everything's going to be gone. I can lose everything. I've seen it happen to a lot of people. They've lost everything. So that's why I decided to quit 3 months ago. So if you guys are enjoying my videos, like, comment, let me know how you guys got addicted and started with gambling. It's a terrible addiction, and I do not wish this on anybody. All right, just wanted to pop on here real quick. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm in the parking lot. We're over here at In Shape Family Fitness, doing things other than watching football at the house right now because I know football's on. So, all right, I'll see you guys next time.